Hey everybody, welcome to this new WeWeb webinar. I hope everybody's okay, and feel free to present yourself in the chat because we would love to get to know you more. And if you have any questions during the live, of course, feel free to interrupt us. We'll get them on the fly. And today I'm with Constantin from Fastgen, so a new backend, like no-code backend in the game. So yeah, thanks for being here, Constantin. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. So maybe because I think most people know WeWeb already, so maybe we can just begin by, if you want to introduce yourself and then Fastgen, that would be a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Constantin. I'm the co-founder and CTO at Fastgen. This is, in fact, not the first company that the Fastgen team has built. We've built something entirely different before, a student financing platform in the US. But what we're offering with Fastgen is, you already mentioned it, the new player in the game when it comes to creating your backend with low code. So with Fastgen, you can create your API endpoints or workflows with a visual drag and drop builder. Every project comes with a hosted Postgres DB, and we also take care of things like end user authentication for our users.
Nice. And how did you get the idea of building this? I would be interested actually to know it.
Yeah. So as I already mentioned, this is not the first company we've built. And during the first company that we've built, we were always constrained on engineering resources. In the beginning, it was just me, then one other engineer. And we were really always looking, how can we improve our output? How can we build faster? And so back then, we evaluated all the options that were out there. And especially on the back end, none of them really satisfied us. So when it came to the point where we said, okay, let's found another company, we went back to the issues we had, and that was one of them. We then validated that with a bunch of others, and yeah, that's what led us onto the Fastgen journey.
Nice, so cool. And maybe a questions for that some of our users have already they were already asking this on our community is that how is Fastgen different from existing players in the game? Because I know that there's already players like Zano and Supabase that people are using, for example, with WeWeb, and we have been hearing many things, many good things from you guys actually on our community. But if you could present like your differences to the chat, I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's two things that we set out that we wanted to nail right from the beginning. And that is one, the developer experience, and two, not limiting our users as much as we can. So I think the first thing you will only notice when you start building with Fastgen, that it's actually a joy to work with, and things come rather intuitively. But then also we've made sure right from the beginning to really pay attention to things like performance, like how many milliseconds do our calls take, and so on, to make sure that no matter whether a user just builds their small side project or something they really want to grow with, they can stick with Fastgen and don't become too constrained having to look for other alternatives. And yeah, so those are, I think, two pretty big things that differentiate us from a lot of the other players out there.
Yeah, and I must say, because I was building we'll get to the template just after, because we've built a WeWeb and Fastgen template. But when I was building with Fastgen, actually it was really easy to use. Like the user experience is really nice. But I know that I've some kind of developer background, so that's why I found it also really really easy. But to be honest, the way we'll see it, you handle workflows in endpoints is really really cool, kind of like what we do in WeWeb. So yeah, I really like this. And let's deep dive in the app right now, except if we have any questions in the chat for Constantin before we'll go into the CRM template we've built using WeWeb and Fastgen. And by the way, hello everybody. I see that Giovanni is here. Really cool to see you. Hello, Andrew. I think we just spoke on LinkedIn. Is that right? Hi, Anurag, and hi, Xavier. Xavier is always here. Really cool.
Very nice.
Okay, so let me switch to my other screen and share what I've done. So, nice. Hopefully you should be able to see my screen. And as usual, I will zoom a little. And so for you people that already maybe know this template, because actually this is a template already existing in WeWeb, it's the CRM template. So it's constituted of like deals that you would find in a classic CRM that are connected to contact and companies. So the way I've done it is that I recreated it using Fastgen, and actually it's a fully working template. So you can even, let's begin with the classic stuff. So I will log out and how to log in. And the way I've done it is that I've got my Fastgen project that is connected to WeWeb to handle authentication and also the data. So the first thing, let me go inside Fastgen, is actually user management. So you guys, Constantin, tell me if I'm wrong with it, like handling the whole authentication behind the scenes, and you're even like soon you will also add of providers, if I'm not mistaken.
We have actually just added that very recently.
Yeah, disabled. Yeah. Okay, you're shipping so fast. I didn't see. Nice. So now we can use of provider, but the way I've done it is just I created a user, which is me, and thanks to their documentation and like the tutorial, I was able to add the authentication to WeWeb using classic token-based auth. So the way it works is that I created my form. with a classic workflow that executes a sign up and a sign in with my email and password. So for the people that know WeWeb, it's really classic. The way I've done it is that I created global workflow to handle both. And to do this, you simply have to do a REST API request to a Fastgen endpoint. It's really classic. So you send the body, you get back the JSON web tokens, and you can log in to WeWeb. So really classic stuff, really cool. And the only thing you need to do this in WeWeb is actually use our token-based auth plugin, because we've got many users asking us, how can I use, for example, Fastgen if the plugin is not native inside WeWeb? Actually, because I think maybe you have the same mentality, Constantin, but we at WeWeb, we try to be really close to developer best practices. So in the end, it's just a classic authentication mechanism, classic REST API call. So you can use our token-based auth plugin and the REST API plugin. And we also plan on creating a Fastgen plugin early next year. But yeah, I think you're kind of the same mentality of like applying the developer best practices to the world of no code.
Yeah, absolutely. I think our mantra is always to not reinvent or try to reinvent the wheel where it's not necessary. So yeah, definitely same mentality there.
So yeah, really cool. So yeah, classic bear token. Then these endpoints are really specific to your Fastgen project, and then you get back the token. So really easy. I'm sending the body. The body must be this way, but everything is explained in your docs, in your tutorial actually. And then you've got headers to get back the token in the body. Then what I do is that I store the token, my access, and my refresh token that I get from the previous action. So let's try it actually with my own accounts that I created. And again, in the chat, feel free to, oops, I hit login too fast. Feel free to interrupt yourself if you have any question or if this is going too fast, because I know that most of you know what we are talking about in WeWeb already, but if you want any, like if you want us to stop and explain what we're doing, don't hesitate. So yeah, sending my email and password, triggering my workflow. So let me go back in my workflow. Actually, yeah, I have my data already. So you see I'm getting back the data here with the access and refresh token that I'm storing inside WeWeb. So using these results and then fetching the current user. And you see that I now have my user here who's logged in. So if I go in the variables, I search the user, you see my current user. So that's how login works, and sign up is actually the same, except you're changing one small part of the URL. So I really liked it with Fastgen that it's really close. Like I was able to, how to say this, to create a workflow that I can reuse, because I mean, most like the way you handle authentication is really standard, as I said already. So yeah. And now I'm logged in and I go back to my deals page. And here is where most of the things happen. Is actually I have three tables. So my deals, contact, and companies table. And the first thing I will do before to show you the WeWeb, how it works in the WeWeb app, is actually showing it to you inside Fastgen. So I went and created my databases, and you see here I have my three tables. So really classic things. I think you're using Postgres behind the scenes.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. So when you create a table, you only have to create classic fields that you would find in Postgres. So like text, number, Boolean, email. And what I've done is that I created my tables, so the company, contact, and deal tables, and I populated them with my data. So you see here, really classic things. The only thing that you told me that it's coming, Constantin, is that for the foreign keys, I had to do this myself, but the feature is coming.
Yes, that workaround will soon not be necessary anymore. So
Nice.
we will ship that before the end of the year, that you finally can create foreign key relationships, and also we'll add a bunch more data types to it.
Cool, really cool. Yeah, because that was a bit long to do, but actually it works because in the end, foreign key is just storing an ID. But if you can like add this feature, that would be really amazing. But except this, it was really easy to do. I had like no problem, using the table. So it's really standard, and I really liked it. And I'm just stopping because we've got a question from Chad, and maybe you can answer it if you want. Constantin is asking, does Fastgen replace or augment functionality, like functionality-wise? I think something like Xano.
Yeah, so I mean, in general, Fastgen can always either be used as a standalone or as an augmentation to something else. I think with Sano specifically, it's probably an either or and less of an augmentation thing. I think augmenting comes more into play with, for example, even things like Bubble, when you hit the limit and can't do it anymore and just need something more complex happening in your endpoints or so. There, I think it's more augmentation, but yeah, can act as both.
Yeah, for example, you could be using Fastgen authentication, but another database, or
Yep.
like
Yeah, absolutely.
either way. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you can also just bring any third-party Postgres DB to Fastgen and connect it, and then use that instead of the one that we provide out of the box.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay. So you can have like your own hosted data, because I know that many users are asking this, especially with WeWeb, because WeWeb you can export the Vue.js app and host it anywhere. And because we are front-end tool, we don't store the data. So like for GDPR or HIPAA, it's really useful. So I imagine you can be GDPR compliant that way also using Fastgen.
Yes, yeah, exactly. You can. Also, at some point next year, we'll be launching the ability for you to select where you want to host the data. Right now, you can also do it, but then you have to ask us manually. But yeah.
Cool. And we have another question. Actually, I'm really interested in this one. Can you upload CSV files to the tables? Because I was not able, and that would be really nice.
No, we got that a lot. We're aware. We're working on it. Again, will probably also come early next year. But right now, the only way you could do it is just get the credentials to your database and then use any third-party tool to do so. But it will be included in Fastgen soon.
That would be nice, because to be honest, I was writing small Python scripts to populate my DB. So if I could just use CSV, that would be awesome. But I mean, this was especially for this example because I had my data already. When you're starting out, you can still add record here. So yeah, I mean, it's working. And keep in mind that Fastgen is still a really young product. But for like because I don't know like for how much time you've been working on this, but honestly, it's already pretty advanced in my opinion.
Yeah, so we started working on it at the end of last year, and then the first beta launch was in March of this year, I think. So
Cool.
yeah, I think the cadence is quite okay when it comes to features.
Yeah, it's already impressive, to be honest, because I mean, we've been there. Creating a no-code tool is not an easy task.
Right.
So yeah. So anyway, so I have my table here, and to use my table, so you see my company, my contacts, and my deal table. What I had to do is simply create some endpoints to get the data inside WeWeb. So let's do this with deals, for example. So if I go into APIs, you see here that I have all my endpoints. And what I've done is that I created a get deals endpoint, which is a classic GET request, and using the authentication. So that was really cool also, because I love the way that you're handling authentication out of the box as well. So you can like make your endpoint public or restrict them. So really cool. I must say I didn't use validation rules for now because I didn't have time, but it's really cool to have these two. Because this is a classic thing also we get, and I think that's something we'll have when we'll have the Fastgen plugin inside WeWeb, is that most of the time when people are using no-code tools between each other, most of the errors they get is because they have like data mismatch or data types errors. So really cool to have this. And then yeah, you create the path, the method, and here I use the simple if condition just to check if I had a search, because I have a search in WeWeb. I will show you this just after. But the way it works is actually you configure, like you do SQL queries, and I liked it because it's really standard. I mean, the way you interact with the database, you don't have to learn anything like pseudo language. You just have to use SQL. So, and I think that was your aim here, Constantin, or like, do you have any plan on maybe abstracting the SQL or something like this?
Yeah, so we have thought about that. It's not on the immediate roadmap to abstract that in like a visual way yet. But what we have introduced is our very originally named Copilot. So users can ask for SQL to be written and modify it, has access to context data. So that's kind of as like a crutch to people that are not as familiar with SQL yet. But it's just the flexibility that SQL gives you is quite unmatched and hard to replicate in a purely UI-based format.
Yeah. So I asked something really dumb. Sorry for the example. But I got the SQL query, which is nice. And then I will show you just after. But the way it works is that here it's a select, so it's really easy. It's just getting data. But if I want to use dynamic data, you've got a templating system, which is pretty standard with the double curly braces, that I can actually show in my return data. So you see here, I'm returning the data, and then I get the data from my last action and the results. And this is just a template saying, like, get me this data back from my previous action. It's a bit like what we have with the variables from the previous steps in WeWeb. And Xavier is asking something, by the way. Can we use indexes?
Yes, you can.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, because I created some. If I'm not, I don't know where you can find them.
Well, in the table, yeah, if you go to the table settings, you can index the.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, here, index.
There you go. Yeah.
Because I know that Xavier loves big databases that are heavily optimized. So, but yeah. And so that's how the API works. And what I've done is that in WeWeb, to get my deals, I actually created a collection called deals, hitting this URL, so the one I created. Then I just have to use my authorization with my bear token. So it's really classic for anybody who's been using, bear token based APIs. It's really standard. And then that's why I have a if, because I'm doing a search in my query string, so that I am able to actually connect WeWeb to Fastgen dynamically. And I can show you this, what I mean with the search. So what I wanted to do is actually make people be able to search for a specific deal. So if I type Stripe, you see here that my collection is filtered on any deal that has Stripe in the name. And to do this, I have a simple workflow that just change a variable in WeWeb and fetches the deals collection. So it's really simple. And I was able to do this thanks to this parameter in my collection, which is my parameter here inside Fastgen. So you see here, I have the templating language again. So, and in the query string, I'm searching for the name parameter. And if it's not an empty string, then I'm filtering the data I get with a where in my SQL query. And here I get also, again, my templating with the name from the query. So I really liked it, the way, because without even a big documentation, I was able to understand this just by you guys having these insert variables. And then when you're used to developer best practices, you know that double curly braces is a templating system. So for people that already know the basics of the web, I think using Fastgen is really easy to use, honestly. I'm not even saying this because you're in the live. I really truly think this. So yeah, congrats on doing such an amazing tool, especially if it's since last year. It's really amazing.
Well, thank you.
And then I think that's all for my get. I can show you before we get in a specific example. I can show you another workflow. So to create a new deal, I have another form with which is posting data to another Fastgen endpoint. So posting all the data from the form. And the way I've done it is I created a global workflow. Here it's post deal. And you see it's also a classic REST API request. So with a URL, then all the data I need to send to Fastgen in the body. And again, my bearer token, which is this one. Demo effect. It's the only endpoint I forgot to update, but now it should work. That's the cool thing with no code. And how it works in Fastgen is just that I have a create deal here. Also the same thing with authentication. And then I create in the database, and you see it's a simple insert. And now I'm using the templated language from the body of my request. So I'm taking the name, the contact ID, the company ID from the body. And what I really liked also for security reasons is that I get the current user ID from the user, from the token. Because I know that many people in no code, they don't know security rules, and they tend to, when they want to link an object to a specific user, they will use a query string parameter or body parameter. But it's really bad to do this because anybody could be changing your ID by reverse engineering the request. So the right way to do this is actually getting the user from the token used to authenticate in the endpoint. So the fact that you have this already is really cool, because people are able to create like secure endpoints that are secure by default. And Derek is asking another question. Is there a way to trigger webhooks on table record changes?
Yes, the way to do that in Fastgen would be to set up a workflow that is event triggered. And events can either be user emitted. So when you build a workflow, you can put in an event block that emits a specific event, or you can listen to system events where we have a bunch of listed. And so you can listen to an update on a table and then trigger a workflow from there.
Nice. And another question, can you touch upon what database you can connect Fastgen to?
Yeah, so at the moment you can connect any PostgreSDB. We have looked into supporting other types of DBs, but for now we'll stick with Postgres. Eventually, maybe next year, we'll look into different also NoSQL types of storage. But yeah, for now, any Postgres DB works.
Cool. And so that's the way I'm creating a new record in my table, and I'm returning a success. And actually, I have a question for you, Constantin, because I was not able to return back the record I created. So should I create a new DB query action to get my okay?
Correct.
So we could be doing this, for example. So here, I would get the last ID, for example. Yeah, I'm just thinking on the fly. But how to get the record I created, I would just be doing a select on the last ID, I imagine.
Yes, that would definitely be one way to do it. Yeah, I guess that's the way to do it.
I mean, or never mind, because we'll continue. I will add notes, but I was just thinking about this because actually I'm just returning the same things, always the same thing. But that's no biggie because in WeWeb we work with collections. So what I'm doing is that I'm fetching the collection again after a post request, so I get back the new elements in my collection. And yeah, so this is working. The last thing I can maybe show is that everything is saved in real time. So I have a workflow on my Kanban to update the order of my deals and their status and get it to Fastgen. So if I were to check membership site for Stripe customer in Fastgen, if I go in my database, deal, so Stripe is here. You see that the order in the column is 0 because it's the first element and it's scheduled. But if I were to drag and drop it here to closing, and if I update Fastgen, and I get back to membership site for Stripe customer, no, it's closing and the order is free. So it's the fourth element. So you see it's really updated in real time, making like any change almost instant. So you can already use WeWeb and Fastgen for scalable projects with many users because that was almost instant. So the last thing, maybe do we have any other questions before maybe I get into adding a new feature to the CRM template? Or do you want us to do something specific on the template or showcase something specific before we continue? Pagination, that's a nice question. So how do we handle pagination in Fastgen?
Yeah, so in the database, we kind of rebuilt that a bit. Before we did not paginate at all, but yeah, going forward, there will be pagination in the database. When it comes to returning pagination, I'm not sure what the question there is exactly.
I think it's because when you use a WeWeb plugin, for example, for Xano and Supabase, we integrate to their pagination. Otherwise, it's front-end pagination. So we get all the... Because what you can do in WeWeb is in a collection. So if I get the deals, here I can add a pagination. But this is a front-end pagination. So actually, everything is loaded, which is bad
for sure.
sometimes. Yeah. And then how you plug to WeWeb, because we need the page, for example, or the offset. And how can we create this to send it to the Fastgen endpoint?
Right. Yeah. I mean, right now you would have to do that manually. But sounds like something we should look into to make life a bit easier when building.
Yeah, because Derek is saying server-side pagination. Yeah, I know this is a big thing, especially in the decoupled no-code world. like not loading too much data. And this is
Yeah.
abstracted in tools like Bubble, for example.
Right.
But this is something really important, especially for performance purposes. So, yeah. But the cool thing with Fastgen, if you want to ask many things to Constantin right now in the live, is that he'll probably add this to the roadmap right away.
Exactly. Yeah.
Putting
No,
pressure on the CTO. Sorry.
I'm more than used to that now. Yeah, I think given with how relatively young we still are, there is some catching up to do on the feature side. But as you mentioned, I think we're doing a pretty good job at doing that quite quickly.
Yeah. And I mean, I forgot to mention, but you also done a Y Combinator. And if that's something we learn with Y Combinator is listening to users and actually shipping really fast. So I'm pretty sure you will add this really, really soon. So yeah, one thing I can propose to you guys is that on my template here, I created a place here when I can add comments to each deal. I don't know if I will have the time to do this entirely during the live, but I will finish it anyway and give it to you guys, the template, just after the live. But the way it works is that normally here I have comments like on a forum, and I can post a new comment and it will display, and each comment is linked to a deal and to a user. So maybe you can do this during the live, at least listing some comments. Maybe the posting thing will take too much time, but if that's okay for you, we'll do this. But I see that we have another question just before from Francois. Hi, thanks for this presentation of this new platform. Is it possible to check the request history? Yes. And I love this feature, by the way. So if you go into debug mode, you see the last you see the history here, and I really love the fact that you're highlighting the path it took in the workflows.
Yep, exactly. You can check it there, or then also on the left, there's the logs feature where you can see all the requests that have been made.
Yeah, here.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, nice. I didn't even check it, but it's really cool with all the data. This is cool to debug. This is something we were working on at WeWeb. Like we added the log not a long time ago. So the fact that you've got this already is amazing, to be honest.
I mean, you're shipping quite fast too, so
we try to.
shouldn't be too bad.
Actually, one of our developers here in the chat, for pagination, I think it should be doable if we can use query parameters by sending a page offsets and limit params. Yeah, definitely. If Fastgen has everything needed to handle the params and use the queries made to the database. Yeah, it's already the case in the SQL queries, so I think it will be really, really easy. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's get back to my database. I will add a table. So those are the columns that are created by default, and I need a text column. I need a deal ID, so it's a number because that's a foreign key, and a user ID, which is actually a string because that's a UUID. And yeah, table name required. Yeah, obviously I need a table name, so I will call it notes. Oops. So now I have to create some fake comments. So, and I don't have any imagination, so I will just type some lorem ipsum. Sorry. And for the deal ID, I will use stripe, which is the ID 14, if I remember well. So let's check in the bindings. It's not this one. It's in the variable. Oh, you know what? Let's check in the Fastgen database. So duplicate this tab. I will be really happy when you have the foreign key feature ready.
Soon, very, very soon.
Nice. So deal stripe, it's the 14. Okay. So I will enter 14 and my user ID is, you can get the user ID here. I will copy it and paste it. And it's created. I will add the second one just to create a list, still 14 and still the same user ID. And why am I doing this? It's because each node is linked to a specific deal. So I need, it's a one-to-many relationship because a deal can have multiple nodes, but not the opposite. And the user ID is because also I need to know which user sent the comment. Then I will just create my endpoint to get this data. So get requests, obviously. I will call it get notes. Path is notes. Or just notes. I think I use the singular. And I just have to do a DB query. And you see the workflow builder is really like WeWeb here. So you can really have several paths and drag and dropping actions. And I saw that you have already many plugins, but the way you can do HTTP requests or even GraphQL means that you can also connect to any number of tools like we do. And also custom code. I didn't use it yet, but I was really pleased to see this. So if you have a very specific custom to do, you can use some JavaScript and Python, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, yeah.
Inside the custom code.
Yeah, I think that's a very powerful one that a lot of people use to basically extend Fastgen to whatever that we don't natively handle yet.
Yeah, we see it a lot in WeWeb, like people are using the NPM plugin a lot and also converting formulas to JavaScript functions all the time, which means that it's what I like in tools like us is that if you hit a ceiling, which is quite often the case, sadly, in no code, because we can't think of all the use case you would have, you can still revert back to small pieces of code. And now, thanks to Copilot and AI, you can even ask Copilot to do this for you. So you don't need to be a huge programmer, like a full code developer. But it's really cool because any use case you would think of, you can still do it. Then I will continue with my query. So it's a simple select star from note. And I can test my query. I will just rename, I will just get the columns that I need. So my texts, user ID, deal ID, and system ID as ID. In WeWeb, everything was called ID, so I'm just renaming this. And if I test my query, it's working. Save changes. And now I can return this to WeWeb. Data, and then getting the results from my previous action. That's results. Deploy. I will get this endpoint. And now I will add my collection to WeWeb. So inside my collections, so this is an older one, I will remove it. I will create a new collection, call it notes. Use the REST API plugin, connection in dynamic mode. So this is really specific to WeWeb, but for the use case we're using, I would recommend using dynamic, which is actually a front-end call. So everything is done from the browser. It's really fast going that way to Fastgen, also because you don't have any CORS issues with Fastgen. So just use the dynamic mode. Cached and static, it's more when you want to use, static is for when you want to use SEO and pre-render pages, and cached. No need to use cache mode with Fastgen. I mean, their backend is so fast that you don't need this. And then my URL, so this, and I'm going to note. So I'm creating my whole URL, which is this one. The result is in the data key, if I remember well. And just for the header, I need my authorization header to authenticate against the endpoint. There plus my access token. And if well, it's working for the first time, which is not normal during a demo, but I'm pretty proud, to be honest. And now I get my data. Continue. I won't paginate it. And what I can do now is that I can link it to WeWeb. And that's the thing specific with WeWeb, and contrary to other tools, that because you can do the whole front end yourself, so drag and drop, for example, texts, add buttons, like everything is dynamic, like it is in Webflow, for example. You can actually, what we call, bind the external data to any element inside WeWeb, and even repeated data using what we call collection lists. So here I have a div. Let's bring the navigator. And inside it, I have a container with other stuff. And what it will do is that when I will bind this div to my nodes collection, it will repeat the first child, which is my container, as many times as there are elements inside the collection. And then I will be able to bind any parameter from each record. So it will display all the nodes. So to do this, I will go on items, get my nodes collection. And you see here now I have two elements. And what I can do, for example, is the text. I can bind it to the text from each element, and I have my lorem ipsum and lorem ipsum 2. Same with the date, but I think I forgot to add my created at inside Fastgen. But the cool thing with no code is that I can get back to Fastgen, add the system created at, if I remember well. That's my query. Here, deploy. Now I just have to refetch the nodes. And if I go back here, oh, oops. I should be able to see the date. Let me check. Yeah, it's here in created at. So I can use this. And now it's working. And that's how I brought some data from Fastgen to WeWeb. I don't know if anybody has questions up to now. So really easy stuff. I mean, I think most of the people are already used to this, but just showing you that Fastgen and WeWeb switch works as usual. And it's really easy. You saw that I was able to create a table and an endpoint in a matter of minutes and add this to WeWeb, so really easy. And here, I think I just wanted to have my username. And this is actually, I don't know if I'm able to do. So I'm asking you, Constantin, is there a way to maybe as an admin get the users from a Fastgen project, list the users? Or should I do maybe a join in my endpoint? Because my question is that for every comment, I would use the username, And how can I do a join in Fastgen to get the user? Because I think it's in a specific table, no?
Yeah, it is a specific table. So right now you can't, you don't give you like a table where you see them in, but that will be coming soon-ish.
Okay. So right
Yeah.
now we're cheating. I will remove the name. Sorry. But that will be soon. So as Constantin said, so I've got my comments. And the only thing is that I want only my comments for my specific deal. So let's say I would be in a real use case, on a real project. Then I would have a comment for another deal, which is deal 15, for example, with the same user ID. So in WeWeb, I would like to see only the deals, the nodes, sorry, for the deal ID 14. So that's where you can use in WeWeb formulas, kind of like the templating you have in Fastgen. In WeWeb, we have what we call formulas. So let's bring all the nodes. What I would do is not bind to all my collection, but only to the elements of the collection where the deal ID is equals to the current deal ID, which is displayed. And to do this, we have many formulas here that you can use, kind of like in Excel or Google Spreadsheet. And if we are lacking some formula, you can still revert to JavaScript to write your own. But for this, we have exactly this one, lookup, which search for records in an array based on the value of a key. So the value here would be my deal ID variable, if I remember well. So selected deal ID. Then I will give it my array of data. And it's a lookup for multiple, so it's giving me back the first one. So I should use a lookup array, if I remember well. Yeah, this one. And the cool thing is that I can drag and drop. Okay. First parameter must be an array values. Yeah, demo effect. I just forgot what I wanted to do. Sorry. Return all objects in array in which key value is default value for key is ID. I can use a map. I don't remember. But anyway, let me just show you this with the lookup right now, because we only have 5 minutes and I will be finishing this just after the live. So sorry, I will just fake it right now. So let me get back to it. Deals, selected deal ID, and then my notes. Okay. In an array, please. Yes. And yeah, basically, I went really fast and I'm not finished, but that's how you would filter it. And then doing the post request here, I would just get the values from my form and post it to Fastgen, creating the endpoint as you saw before. So doing a simple create a node inside the table, and then templating the the insert SQL query with what I have in my body. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry, I think we are a bit late and I still want to take questions. So sorry for the last hiccups. I wanted to go fast. But yeah, Andrew is saying the upcoming features list keeps expanding. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've got a big roadmap. By the way, if you want to share what's, I think you've done it already, but what you have in the roadmap for the future, feel free.
Yes. So for the rest of this year, it's bringing the database upgrades that we just talked about live. And then there's a lot of polishing that we will have to do. And then from the beginning of next year, there will be quite a few cool features, I think. So we'll be launching shareable flows, lots of upgrades to the end user management. And really, it's also a long list of small things. As we keep collecting feature requests, like here in the live stream, we really try to listen to what our users want, and then one by one, churn them out.
And Anurag has a question for you. Curious to ask which library is being used by Fastgen team to provide that good-looking workflow builder.
I'll take that as a compliment. And actually, we did not use any library for that. We tried out a couple, but weren't really satisfied. And then we just went ahead and built it ourselves.
And it's funny because it's the same story for our workflow builder in WeWeb. We tried many libraries, it was not working, so we've done it ourselves. In the end, there's something to be done.
Since then, we had a couple people asking which library you use, so maybe we should open source that.
Yeah, exactly. So any other questions while we're here? And by the way, speaking of upcoming features, we have like a big release for WeWeb next week. So the WeWeb editor will be down on Wednesday from 2 a.m. EST to 8 a.m. EST. Maybe not as long, but we want to make sure like we're not, you're aware of this. And the thing is, we completely revamp the editor and also bring new no-code components. So you will be able to create reusable parent components entirely in no-code, and that will inherit properties into all their projects. And also we'll add what we call libraries. So you will be able to import components inside your project. So paving the way for the future marketplace, which is coming maybe by the end of the year, but most probably early next year. So you'll be able to sell and share components between project and users. So that would be really cool. And also this will open new plugins, and then we'll create obviously a Fastgen plugin. This is in the roadmap already, and we'll do another webinar with new templates that will be prettier, I can assure you. And also this time I won't be like the demo will work for sure. But yeah, we're still working on these integrations, and I mean with the Fastgen guys. So next time it will be, I think, a bigger and more powerful app, hopefully. And Anurag is asking, will there be a CSS grid support in web? I think that's in our roadmap, but for maybe early next year as well, because we are really committed on the new editor and the marketplace right now. The marketplace is a big thing for us. So not before this, but yeah, like CSS grid will come, and next year I think we'll also work on mobile apps so that you can create mobile apps from WeWeb apps. Yeah. So is that all for everybody? No more questions in the chat? I don't think so. So thanks a lot, Constantin. Where can people find you? I mean, they can try Fastgen for free, obviously.
Exactly, yeah. You can sign up for free on fastgen.com. And apart from that, we're on all the popular channels, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc.
Do you have a community?
Yes, we have a a Slack community that people can join. We will be launching a web-based community early next year, but for now, everything on Slack, and you can find the link to that also on our website or within Fastgen. It's linked a couple times.
Cool. So thanks a lot, Constantin. It was really cool to do this webinar with you, and I hope we see each other next year with the new integration then and a new webinar then.
Absolutely. Thanks again for having me. It was a blast, and looking forward to the next one.
Cool. See you, everybody.